All right, here we have a large muscled arm. I want you to take note of the inside of the scapula here. So we've got the subscapular fossa and the subscapularis muscle, the teres major. You can see some traps here. So if we're looking, it's hard to get this oriented correctly. So we're looking at the back of the shoulder blade, the humerus on down, there's the elbow, okay? So if you're looking at the spine of the scapula here, so there's the spine, there's the acromion, and there's your clavicle. We have trapezius here. If you look deep in this little cranny in there, you can see the supraspinatus muscle, right in there. Now if we look below the spine of the scapula, you'll see the infraspinatus, and you'll see the teres minor, and then we can see teres major peeking out over here. Now, let's rotate this around on the table. So now we're looking at the outside of your arm. You can see triceps brachii here, brachialis, and biceps brachii. There's 3 heads to the triceps. We have 1, 2, and 3 medial head over here, brachialis and biceps brachii. Let's look at the inside of the arm. So there, you should have seen, as I rolled that over, the 2 heads of the biceps. I don't know if you can see that. 1 and 2. 1 goes to that intertubercular groove of the humerus and then on up. This one goes to the coracoid process. If you follow it, coracoid process right there. You also have this muscle, the coracobrachialis. Brachialis means arm, coracoid process there, coracobrachialis. And he runs from the coracoid process down about mid-shaft of the humerus. Now, the distal half of the humerus has an extra muscle, the brachialis. So if we take off the biceps brachii, you can see the brachialis here, and you can see the coracobrachialis there. It's okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Now, the triceps, you can see that medial head there. So that's the upper arm. And then we can do the forearm. So let's look here. Here we're looking at the extensors, okay? The extensors. So from anatomical position, the back side of the forearm. That's extensor land. We can split the extensors from the flexors here at the ulnaris muscle. So that's the flexor carpi ulnaris, and this is the extensor carpi ulnaris. So you can see they're splitting right there from flexion to extension. The extensor retinacula right here. So now let's come one over. So that's extensor carpi ulnaris, and there's a groove on the distal surface of the ulna called the groove for the extensor carpi ulnaris. Now here's your pinky. This extensor here goes straight to the pinky. That's the extensor digiti minimi. There's the extensor digitorum that goes to the middle 3 digits. Extensor retinaculum. You can see up here too we have the anconius, assist with extending the elbow. And then if we come over here, you're looking at these thumb muscles. These 2 here create the anatomical snuff box. Those are extensors. So when I extend my thumb, you can see my snuff box there. And hint, hint, I'm extending my thumb. The tendons that are drawn taut are my extensors. So we have extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, and then we have this one here, which doesn't extend all the way to those distal phalanges of my pollex or my thumb. We have this one that stops short at the base of that metacarpal. This is the abductor pollicis longus. You can also see the opponens pollicis here. You can see the adductor pollicis, the dorsal interossei muscles between those white tendons of the digitorum muscle. Now if we come over here, you can see some more extensors. These are called the handshake muscles. All right, you see this other split right here at the cubital fossa. This is going to separate again extension from flexion. Now this one here, he is not a wrist extensor. He stops short of that. That is the brachioradialis. He's going to help with elbow flexion And he also pronates and supinates the forearm, which is kind of crazy to think that he does both of those. So that's the brachioradialis, the extensor carpi radialis longus, and extensor carpi radialis brevis. Think if it has carpi in the name, it's going to cross the wrist because it's going to be attaching to either carpals or metacarpals. So we have brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis. Now if we take those off, that's going to reveal the supinator and the pronator teres here. You can also see the muscle belly for your flexor pollicis longus. Now if we rotate him on over, we'll be able to look at the flexors in greater detail. So let's I know, we're about to go, baby. So my son is ready to go. You want to get Sissy? Sissy's still at school. Pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus. See how that tendon's been cut? It also sits over the flexor retinacula. That would come into the palmar aponeurosis. Then you can see these tendons, they're going to come under that whole thenar complex and shoot out here to the digits. That's the flexor digitorum superficialis. And then finally, we're kind of back to where we started, the flexor carpi ulnaris. There's a few other prizes under here. Here you can see the flexor digitorum profundus. I want you to think professor, profound, deep, okay? It's deep to the superficial, silly sorority girl, and I'm a sorority girl, so I can say that. Superficial, S, and that's the stereotype, right? So S, superficial, P, profound is deep. On top, deep. So flexor digitorum superficialis, there's the flexor retinaculum, okay? You can see the lumbricals here. You can also see your abductor pollicis brevis. You can see the flexor pollicis brevis, the adductor pollicis. You can see those three that we talked about for the pinky as well. If we look over here, you can see the opponens digiti minimi, the abductor digiti minimi brevis, and the flexor digiti minimi brevis. And that's everything on this muscled arm model.